I was sitting in a parking lot at McDonald's that day running that episode. And in front of me at McDonald's were two cats that were like mating / wanting to kill each other. And here I am talking about the magic of Disney. And it's like, how is this my life right now?
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome.
We're here.
Welcome to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. If you can see me right now, if you're watching this, or if you're just listening, I have the biggest smile. I'm so excited because we are rounding out the end of 2023, end of the year. And to celebrate this year of Disney, this year of Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast, we are all here. I'm not just joined by one or two of my favorite ladies today, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All of us are here. We have Stacey, LJ, Becky, Carla, and Katie, the voices you've been listening to all seasons, all episodes of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. And we're going to talk today about our favorite moments and look forward to what we are excited about to come. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
This is our version of pulling up a chair with our coffee or drinks and talking to friends about our favorite thing.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is so many people have said, I really just feel like I'm one of you. I feel like I'm one of your friends. I'm at your table. I'm in your conversation. I'm driving in my car and I'm answering the questions that, Stacey is asking. People are responding in that way. And I love that. And this is a true glimpse. We've never all recorded together, and we're probably going to talk over each other a little bit. We're probably going to banter back and forth and give each other a hard time a little bit. But truly, this is why I love doing this podcast with all of you, because of this right here, this community.
We are a lot of fun, aren't we?
Though we say it ourselves.
Yeah, though we do say so ourselves. So I want to just really talk about some key moments. I know we have a lot of new listeners. We've connected with so many new listeners in our social media communities on Facebook and Instagram and in our Patreon that just launched recently. It's been so fun interacting with people in there. And I really want to, for our new listeners, for our new smarties and people that are just joining the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast community, I want to highlight some moments that maybe you've missed, some really key takeaways, things that we highlighted and you learned over the course of the past couple of seasons and couple of months that we've been producing this specific show, so that maybe you learn a little something today. And then you also need to go back and re-listen and make sure you're getting all of that info from the past.
We have a lot to talk about.
We have come a long way.
We have. And Katie, why don't you start us off and talk to me just a little bit about your take on things and where we've come from and what you're looking forward to.
Okay. Well, gosh, whenever we got together to build this podcast, that was like over a year ago at this point, and we were brand new strangers, and we spent a lot of time just getting to know one another. And it's kind of funny how quickly our friendships formed and everything, and how close we became. And I really think that has led to us being able to have a really great podcast together. Whenever I think back to all the time we put in, even before episode 1, you listen to that pilot episode and you're just like, there's so much magic in that episode. I feel like there's magic in every episode, but we've also come a long way since then with figuring out our groove with the podcast. And I am excited for where we're going to be going.
I think we definitely started out not realizing how much we did not know about building a podcast. We had such high hopes for how quickly we could get this thing built and put together and on the air. And it was a struggle there at the beginning. We really took us a long time to figure out exactly where to go. I mean, I'm so thankful we had that time to build our relationship. And I know that became something we acknowledged as being an important step. But I don't think any of us really started out with the idea of, yep, we're gonna build this team, and then we're gonna take a year just hanging out together, and then we'll put it together. Like, I think we all wanted it to be so much faster than it was at the beginning, but it was a lot harder than we thought. But all of that time really helped us come up with a fantastic product. And it has been fun getting to know you ladies.
Do you remember that our initial plan was to launch on August 1st?
2022.
Oh my gosh.
When none of us had ever met. We didn't know each other.
Yeah, 2022.
Right. Not even this year.
Yes, it's so good because we spent that 6 months, and thank goodness for Marco Polo, because I truly feel like you all are my tribe. I want to tell you all the things before I'm telling even sometimes my mom. Like, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm not really saying that, but
Edit that out.
Can we have a sponsorship from Marco Polo, please?
Right.
I was just gonna say too, like just to give you like an idea of how quickly we formed those bonds in a friendship. We all started getting to know each other last May, as I mentioned, and I moved down here to Tampa in July of that year. And my husband Matthew was in a motorcycle accident that February, and the very first person I called was Carla. Like Carla dropped everything on a dime. She met me at the hospital. She took my kids overnight on a whim. Like she took care of everything. And without this podcast, I wouldn't have that kind of bond that I have with her.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think the root of this podcast is just that. It's friendship, and it's helping people that want to learn about this thing that they want to attain, and they feel like they are among friends, and it's an easy way to learn about Disney and to take their kids on this dream vacation. And I feel like delivering this podcast with my friends is the thing I'm most grateful for in this whole journey so far.
And I think that's kind of what LJ has done building this company of Smart Moms Travel Agents, is that the reason I joined this was watching LJ's stories on Instagram and seeing her on team trips and seeing her with all her girlfriends and like really getting to experience Disney together. And that's what I like was looking for when I joined the agency myself. And then I found you guys, and it was like this is it. Having girlfriends that you can sit with and just talk about the things that you love or the things that are bothering you. It's like, I don't know. It's amazing.
I could not agree more. I feel like I was kind of a lone wolf growing up. Like I always felt like I didn't really have super deep friendships. And especially after I left my corporate job, and, I was in real estate for a while, just owning my own rental properties and managing them myself. And that was very isolating. And then, when I started Smart Moms Plan Disney, it didn't get any less isolating. Even though I had a community, like I didn't have anybody. And, as we moved more and more towards Smart Moms Travel, I did not foresee that the main thing was going to be the friendships and the relationships. Like I've always been focused on helping women make money in a good situation for them, like good money at home, not needing to get dressed, not needing to leave there, not even really realizing that the true benefit or one of the big benefits, I don't know, I think the money might still be the true benefit for a lot of people, but another huge benefit is the friends and the family that comes along with it.
Yeah. And I love that like Disney is the root of this work, because that's what Disney is about to all of us too. It's like this friendship and this family and this place to experience these moments. And the fact that we did find this tribe within this community that you created, it's just all really, really special. And like Stacey mentioned, it was May of 2022 that LJ, you and I had that conversation that really launched the brain of this podcast. That was so long ago. I can't believe how long ago that was.
And that was the first time we actually met.
It was our first conversation in person. And it was like, oh, I want to do this. And I really think it would be fun. You were like, absolutely, go.
Let's do it.
And we did it. And actually, I think the conversation was in April, and I met all of these then in May. And we, like Becky referenced, thought we're going to launch in August. We know nothing, but here we go.
It should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. It'll be fine. But I love what we've done. And I cannot believe that within the community, like Carla said, that you created, LJ, we now even have this like branch of community that's saying, this podcast makes me feel like I have these friends. And this podcast is helping me want to go take these Disney trips. And just to know that there's a branch within a tree, it is really, really, really special. So we officially launched. We started putting out episodes, and that first episode that Katie referenced, that magic episode, really was just our introduction to saying, here's why we love Disney. And then we dove into topics. And initially we launched with that big giveaway that LJU and Smart Moms Travel sponsored for this podcast, which was really, really amazing. And we had so many of our listeners just in that way. And we're so grateful for those of you that are still around and still listening to us every single week. And we're still hearing from you within our communities, which is really, really great. And we were able to hit 50,000 listens like pretty quickly after we launched right there in the summer, which I just thought was really, really exciting. And to know that that many people are listening and learning and inching their way towards their vacation was really, really exciting for me.
Yeah, I love seeing it grow and grow, like the number of people that are being touched by it. And I think like this medium is really special. I listen to podcasts like 5 days a week, it's part of what I do. And I think there's something really special about like having that voice in your headphones as you're walking or driving or whatever you're doing that is different than, reading a blog or even watching a video. I feel like these people are like on a journey with me because I'm living my life while I listen. And I think y'all have been able to do that, referencing that first episode that you did. That was one of my favorites. I wasn't on that one. And when I heard it, I was listening the pre-published, Dropbox version of it. And when I heard it, I genuinely cried. Like I was genuinely just so happy and grateful to have you guys. Like you'd done so much work to get to that point. And when I listened to that episode and heard how good it was and just how like perfect this team is for this job, I was sitting on my couch listening and just so, really tears of gratefulness that y'all had brought it to like that point and that we were ready to take it on. Because you all know I did not really help at all in the beginning. I was like, you guys figure all this out. I'll jump on when you're ready to hit record.
Well, I think to say not helped at all is really not quite accurate, right? Because I think everybody helps in their own way. And just getting this thing off the ground and launching it within this company was a really, really, really huge deal. But I think we can all remember that moment that you listened to that first episode. And I actually loved that you weren't on that episode because it really gave us this true window, because had it not been good, like you would have told us. And
oh, yes. I'd have been like, ladies, we are not ready to launch.
Yeah, no, redo. And so I actually love that we were all like, okay, LJ's going to listen and we're going to see what a person that hasn't heard it yet thinks. And I think we can all remember that moment when you were like, it's great. And I remember where I was standing, and I was thinking she responded this way and she's going to have the most critical, honest listen of anybody that's going to. And just knowing in that moment, this is going to reach people and this is going to help people. And this is going to allow people to achieve something that, was the ultimate goal of doing this.
And you did provide that giveaway. So that's a pretty big something.
Okay. That's where I can definitely show up. I can give money away. I can't always give my time, but I can definitely support in other ways.
Carla, that pilot episode was, I think, your favorite as well.
I think it was a culmination of so many things. I think it was a culmination of it just being the first episode. We worked for so long trying to get our stuff together, whether it's recording spaces or audio. I mean, there are sometimes we get on episodes and we'll troubleshoot for 35 minutes because we can't figure out why, our platform's not working that day. And it makes no sense. But somehow we get it together. And eventually, I remember I was sitting in a parking lot at McDonald's that day running that episode. And in front of me at McDonald's were two cats that were like mating / wanting to kill each other. And here I am talking about the magic of Disney. And it's like, how is this my life right now? Not only that, as agents, we kind of always battle those people that question, like, why Disney? And here we are in our first episode, and we get to explain why Disney, like because of Disney magic. And if you don't know what that is, like you're certainly going to know it after you listen to that first episode.
Yeah. If you're a person that hasn't experienced it yet, and you've maybe only been listening for tips and you're thinking about a trip, like you definitely have to listen to that episode because it means something different to everybody. And I know we touch on it in every single episode, but that one was really, really, really special for that reason. And your funny story made me remember, LJ, you and I were recording an episode, but we finished recording and all of a sudden it was just gone. Like we recorded the whole thing.
Oh, yes.
And then we were like, oh, we just did that for 90 minutes. And by the way, it's gone. No reason, no explanation, but you can just redo it and rehab the entire conversation.
Yes.
And we've kind of moved past some of those issues as we've been recording. But to me, it's just been so funny to like the root of all of this is us just wanting to help moms go to Disney or grandmas go to, or whoever go to Disney. And these are the funny things that we're dealing with on the side.
Yeah. And we'll be honest, we know our audio is not perfect. That is something that we are working, that we strive for, that eventually we will have those set spaces and set time and get everything just right. Right now, I don't know about you guys. I'm in my closet. Katie, you're in your closet.
In my closet.
She's in bed with her. And can we just note how small Allie is? Because I believe that this is a normal size coffee cup that she's holding, and it looks like it's giant.
It's a normal size coffee cup.
I know LJ sometimes does hers when she's on her walks in the morning. Like we are not professionals by any means. Again, we're just trying to convey our love for Disney and hoping that passes along and that our listeners get some sort of snippet of information that's going to make their trip that much better. But coming soon will be great. We'll be perfect. We'll be professional.
I don't
Keep
think
listening.
we should strive for that. Like, I honestly don't think we should be striving for that as hard. I feel like good enough has got to be good enough. Like, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm there for like the people, and I'm there for like the information. And if it's, I can hear their kid or an airplane or something in the background, I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is so unprofessional. I just feel like we're real people. We're real moms. We're really,
our closets.
Yeah.
Yes, we're really in our closets. We're really on our walks. And I feel like that's okay and can be what it is.
Yeah, we're really doing this like between the pickups and drop-offs. Like I'm running down the stairs to get my kid off a bus, like as we're recording,
LJ's camera's not on because she's sitting in the bathtub right now.
I'm actually walking. You guys are in my pocket. My phone's in my pocket. So
funny. I think that's part of it. I agree. And it's so funny you were talking about recording spaces because this is where I record. And I did have a dream that my wife made me a recording studio as a surprise, which there is nowhere to do that. But she had like fishing wire with like my kids' Squishmallow, like small Disney Squishmallows, like on the ends of all of them to like make me a background.
Allie, you have the most interesting dreams. You're always like,
I'm dreaming about this. Yeah. It's like the night before we record, I always have these dreams about, not pushing record. Those are the things that happen to me.
I wanted to add a really quick comment because I was not on that first episode and I listened to it just like LJ listened to it blindly. And I can't even tell you, like, surprise, Becky was crying and Becky's crying in this moment. But like, I'm the crier in the group and that's okay. But speaking of dreams, like how many of us have dreams that we don't go after because we're so fearful? Like, what if we fail? What if we do these things? And listening to you all embrace like what this podcast can mean for moms in terms of taking the steering wheel and like being like, I'm going to make it happen for myself. That's why the perfection doesn't matter because we're just a team of moms chasing dreams and other moms can do that too.
And also, I think they need, like, our listeners out there can hear this and get permission for their own lives to not be perfect and to be messy and to be between pickups. And like the number of things that I would not have done in my life if I waited for the right time or for all the green lights, it's everything. Because I've always had all these kids. I've always had the drama, the mess, the coffee stains. And if you just wait for things to be the right way, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life because it's never going to happen. If you just get out there and start doing it amid the coffee stains, you're going to find that it resonates with everyone else because they're dealing with that too.
Yeah. And I love that we can be that voice, and that they can see, like LJ, you just said, they get permission for their own lives. And they also get permission to actually bring this dream of this vacation or these moments with their kids to reality as well. It's just really cool. And I've loved every bit of it. I want to hear some more of your all's favorite moments. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to point you back to some other episodes, highlight some more key moments, and again, look right on into the future of what's to come.
Are you a dedicated fan of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast and feel the need to take notes while listening to each and every episode? Our Diamond Mind Patreon subscription is a perfect fit for you. Every month, our Diamond Mine subscribers receive a new Disney travel guide that simplifies and organizes the podcast content. Join our community at patreon.com and search for Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Joining our Patreon supports our woman-owned small businesses and allows you more simplicity and support in planning your next Disney vacation. Join us at patreon.com and we'll see you there.
And welcome back, everyone. We are going to continue talking. Becky, since you are the crier of the group and you were just, I don't think you picked crying episodes as your favorite.
I don't think that I embrace crying in terms of like, it's my favorite thing to do by any means. It's just something that naturally happens. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm mad. It's just who I am. And I was really, really uncomfortable with that for so long in my life. But at this point, I'm just embracing it, that it's part of being a Pisces or something. I don't know. Yeah. And so with that in mind, like, there are several episodes that I absolutely love, but the Mega 7 series really, really stuck out for me because it allowed us to kind of break the mold of what we had kind of outlined for season 1 and start thinking through what parents really, really need to know. In particular, the ones that I really love was The Grumpiest, which was so fun to talk about things that Disney does wrong. As much as we love Disney, like Disney does nothing wrong, right? We just want to spend all of our time and please, Disney, take all of my money. But there's always things that we're like, oh, we could have done this better. Like, how did they do this? How did they pull this off and not think to do this in this case? And so The Grumpiest was a really, really fun one. The Dopiest as well. I loved the mailbag episode. I thought that that was fantastic.
Yeah. And one thing that really stands out to me with that Grumpiest episode is we all, if you haven't listened to that one, that was the episode where we, like you said, talked about the things Disney doesn't quite get right, or missed opportunities is what we kept calling it when we were taking notes about it. And as soon as we recorded it, I felt like it was definitely within the next day or so, Disney started making some announcements that were about things that we said they weren't doing right. And so if you haven't listened to it, it would be fun to go back and say and try to find those moments of, oh my gosh, that's one of those things that I know is happening now at Disney that at the time of recording they weren't. So maybe Disney is listening and getting quick ideas. Turning around Jollywood Nights t-shirts like Stacey has on. We were laughing before we started recording, but they didn't have those on night 1, and then all of a sudden they had them. And they did a quick turnaround and I'm like, oh, Disney probably listened to Grumpiest. And then the very next day made some changes.
I think it speaks to how in tune all of us are into the Disney world. That Disney world is that we see where they're going before they even announce that that's where they're going. And it's not things that only speak to us, right? We talked about several things that, just like you said, Allie, the next day they announced several of those. And it wasn't like 1 or 2. It was like 5 or 6 of the things we talked about.
Yeah, if you want to go back and listen to that episode, listeners, and let us know on social media the things that you can find that Disney, it was during their D23 conference that year or last year that we happened to be recording that episode. So they were making announcements. So go back and listen and see if you can find the things that Disney is adding now that we actually mentioned. It was really fun for us. And we were even thinking, oh my gosh, some of this stuff isn't going to be relevant. And we all thought that was really fun, that some of the things we wanted were coming to fruition. And then the mailbag episode that you mentioned, Becky, the Dopiest, we're going to be doing lots more of those. So be looking for more mailbag episodes to come in 2024, where whatever the topic or the theme is for that episode, we're going to be getting listener feedback and reading your scenarios and comments for an entire episode, which is just so fun for us because we have already talked about it on this episode and it's been our thing since the beginning, is that pulling up the chair. And that's what we want from our listeners. And doing those mailbags is the most fun way. And Carla and who else recorded the mailbag episode?
I did. Yeah.
It was the 3 of us on the Grumpiest as well, I believe. And that was just really funny. We were cracking up reading those.
I love the Dopiest episode. I know, like Becky mentioned, our Mega 7 series. I really loved all of our Mega 7 series, but man, that Dopiest episode is so full of hilarious moments.
It really is. But Katie, what was your favorite moment, and what takeaway that listeners can learn from listening back is the thing you think the most?
So I was debating on this if I should talk about maybe the Magic Kingdom itinerary episode, because I feel like that had a lot of good moments in it and a lot of like information and value. But I actually think that my favorite might be the best age episode because sort of to speak to what LJ had mentioned earlier about this sort of mindset that you have to get everything perfect. I feel so much that our clients are people that feel like I have to get Disney perfect. I have to have an itinerary down to the minute. I have to go at the perfect season of life for my family. And I'm planning a trip for 6 years down the road and I haven't even had that child yet and things like that, right? Like there's so much wrapped up in this idea that you have to get it perfect. And I feel like to LJ's point that she said earlier, if you're waiting to get it perfect, you're going to keep on waiting. There's always going to be something that makes it not perfect, right? I really feel like that best age episode was great. I know that we talked a lot in that episode about going with little kids and everything, and that's kind of my angle because I have really little children. But I didn't get to go to Disney myself until like I went one day to Magic Kingdom whenever I was 18, and then I didn't really have like a full Disney vacation until I was an adult. I was 31. And so I really think that perfect age episode, you're going to get a lot out of it in terms of value for, there are advantages to going when your kids are younger and everything like that. But now is really the best time to go no matter what age you are. And I really feel like that was the big takeaway is, you can strategize all day long about when the perfect time is to take that trip. But at the end of the day, taking a Disney vacation is the best idea you could have today.
That's like our new slogan. Taking a Disney vacation is the best idea you have today. That's that's fantastic.
That's really good. Can we print that in a t-shirt? Can we get it printed on a t-shirt?
That's literally my favorite thing you've ever said. I love that. And it makes me, while you were talking, I was just also thinking about some of these funny callbacks that we've had in so many of our episodes, right? Like even our listeners have started coming and commenting on social media about Katie and her love for the Carousel of Progress and how Carla and I could just not disagree more. And it's just a place I won't even go for air. But Katie's like massive love for it is a well-known thing, or how Becky loves the boat ride in the pyramid at Epcot. I will mention it in as many episodes as I can.
I never get to live that down. Get to live that down.
Like, I think she likes it better than the boat ride for Frozen. I think we're like into that territory. And then like how Stacey loves Command Performance, which is like Carla and I were doing that Fantasyland draft with her. And Carla and I were like, Epcot is our territory. And we picked these performances and Stacey's like, I'm going to get you. And she drops this name that Carla and I have never heard of. And we were like, what are you talking about? But then we all got to go see them together when we were at the Smart Moms conference in September, which was really, really fun. And just those callback moments, LJ just kind of acting as my therapist when I talk about missing my kids.
Oh my gosh, I'm always... I always got to be like, let's unpack that, Allie. I feel like that's a little problematic. Let's have a discussion. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I just feel like we've really settled into these roles and funny moments. And I love calling those back. And I love that our listeners are now bringing them back to our attention as well.
And I would like to point out that the things that Katie and I have both gotten the most grief about was when Katie sang for us in her episode about the Carousel of Progress and talking about her grandparents. We're all weeping. It ends up being one of the best things. And then I had the super fun experience of getting in touch with Command Performance. They reached out on me.
I love that. That was like the greatest, was whenever we were talking about Command Performance. By the way, if you haven't listened to our Fantasyland draft episode, don't sleep on those. Those are great episodes and they are super.
That's the best.
You need to go listen to those episodes.
Very funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes. Stacey's like, Command Performance. And then they reach out to her over Instagram. And it's like, oh my gosh, like we could not believe.
We're like, Stacey, Command Performance is talking to you.
It was the greatest.
It was great. And I'm so glad you said that about the Fantasyland episodes, Katie, because I think people do sleep on them, not realizing what they are. And they were our really like unique approach on diving deeper into the parks, which is, we know from listening to listener feedback that park information is really a lot of what our listeners want. And the Fantasyland draft was a fun way to spin, hey, let's dive deeper into Magic Kingdom. and we're going to talk about the rides and we're going to talk about the food and we're going to talk about the lands, but we're going to do it in this really special way. And they were really fun. And LJ, you were on the first one ever. And I remember you were like, wait, I didn't realize I was going to have to strategize this hard.
I definitely came into that unprepared. Like I'm not a football person. I had no idea what's happening. And you guys are like teaching me. I'm like, okay, I will do my best. I feel confident that I know the parks. But then I was consistently like, I didn't understand how the order was going. So every time it was my turn, I was surprised. I was like, oh, wait. Oh, it's my turn. Oh, no, it's not my turn. Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, I got to get one ready. So I don't even know the outcome of that. Did I fail miserably?
Oh, yeah. I think I won them all, if I'm being really honest. I don't know. I think I lost one.
I won one. Thank you.
Carla won one.
Carla won.
Go, Carla. Way to keep her from skunking us.
Actually, listeners have to go back and hear the first Fantasyland draft where LJ did not strategize, and we're like coming in and taking the stuff. And she's like,
I'm like, oh, what? That's possible?
Yeah. And she's like, wait, oh, I thought I could also take Space Mountain, but you already took it. I can't have it. I'm like, no. And she gets like Columbia Harbor House, spoiler alert, and then tries to spin it like, no, that is my favorite.
But I do love Columbia Harbor House. Okay.
Hey, that's a great spot.
That may be the reason that I think that the boat ride in Mexico is remarkable, is hardcore pulling for my Epcot draft.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, don't like Katie said, don't sleep on those episodes. I'm just like smiling thinking about them, and now I feel like I need to go back and re-listen, because we do talk about things in the parks and we spin them in such positive ways, which I think isn't really hard to do because everything is pretty positive. But I remember Carla drafting Happily Ever After, the fireworks show, which everybody knows is like my domain, like that is my Disney thing, and it was taken from me. So then I had to talk about the train and why the train was actually the best thing, and why it was better than the fireworks. And so those are just really fun, and they do give our listeners a unique perspective on the things you're going to do in the park and why, yes, this may be the highlight, but this thing is also really super cool. And if you don't get to eat at this restaurant is also still really good. And even though, there could only be one winner per draft, everybody did a good job talking about all of the areas that we were doing. And I thought that those were super fun.
Go Columbia Harbor House.
Yeah. Terrible.
People in my neighborhood are looking at me, you guys. Dogs are barking. A guy just came out of his garage just to see what I was being loud about.
Yeah, Columbia Harbor House. You might go there for lunch now.
And speaking of our restaurants here, we've had a great response to our character dining episode. And I think that's been super fun for me to watch how many people have interacted with us saying how they've changed their plans based on hearing our episode about that. And that's been just really encouraging. And I really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah. That was my most favorite episode, I think, so far. And I think listening back to it, we all kind of were having the most fun. And I agree with you, Stacey. I've had families that I'm working with reach out that have already submitted their dining requests to me. Like, wait, I just listened to the dining episode. Do I need to change this? Like, what do you think? And it's crazy and really awesome how much pull that episode has had.
I got to listen to that one. I'm behind. I haven't listened to it.
It's really fun.
Now I'm going to go put it on my play next.
Yeah, you need to listen to that one next. And then let us know if you agree, because we come up with an ultimate order of every character dining in, how they are, and we rank them.
Oh my geez. That sounds amazing. I almost guarantee I don't agree. I have opinions already.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just curious what LJ's number one pick would be.
Yeah. Having not heard
character dining.
Yeah.
Oh, I would probably say Topolino's.
Okay. Now you have to listen and see if that was what number one ended up.
If anyone agreed with me at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, now I'm going to have to know. You have to tell us after you hear, because it was super fun. And the way we did it, it was Stacey and Katie and I. And if you have not listened to that episode, even if you're not planning a trip, it's very fun. But if you are planning a trip, I think we do cover the pros and cons of each of them really well. And we did not know the outcome until the end of that episode. I was not keeping track of the math, but Katie was keeping track of the math. And we came up with that top 10 list, and we didn't know it until the very end, which was super fun. And I was pretty happy with how it fell, except there was one in the top 5. Listeners have to go back if you haven't. And if you have listened, you already know which one that's in the top 5 that I just was not. I thought Katie
not happy about.
Katie and Stacey definitely, they sabotaged the list with that one.
Allie doesn't know what she's talking about at all in this case, where Allie has completely lost her mind. And speaking of listeners coming back and saying, hey, what do you think about that? We have heard feedback that people have said, Allie lost her mind on that one. So
You guys have me dying to listen. I need to go listen immediately.
I feel like I've heard more. Thank you, Allie, for standing up and not just following Chuck. Stacey and Kate couldn't give any diversity in their numbers. I'm the only one that's like, that gets a 10. And they're like, it's a 90.
That's fair. That's fair. We didn't use the whole scale as broadly as you did, which is true. Well, I want to add about that episode because Allie, you were just saying that, we didn't know what the final outcome was going to be. That's like how authentic we really want that episode to be, is we didn't know ahead of time what everyone was going to rank it and how it was going to turn out in the wash. But what you didn't get to see from the edit was like, we had to pause so I can do everything in a spreadsheet and be like, oh yeah, oh man, I can't believe that this got that number. And like, there's probably 10 minutes that got edited out of me going like, oh my gosh, you guys, no way.
Yeah. And things ended up being like tenths of a point separated, which is really how the character dinings at Disney are. And you can see how excited we all are talking about this episode. And, when the podcast first launched, we had the very specific formula. And original listeners will remember that we had our intro and our sevens segment, which we have not walked away from completely. We have just really come up with new ways to approach episodes, and we'll still be doing sevens. So make sure you know what those are, because I think it's like the heart and soul of our podcast. But we're just not doing it on every episode. And because that ranking episode was so fun, we're going to be doing a lot more of those in 2024. I mean, one every couple of weeks, because we were just really talking as podcast team saying there are so many things at Disney we can rank.
So many.
A lot of people gave us feedback that they loved the ranked episode. So
yeah, I'm excited to rank things with Carla because I feel like she'll be at least a little
ruthless.
At least a little ruthless. Like I mean, if you're gonna have a 1 to 100 sliding scale, like you got to dip below 50.
And now I know how your brain operates, so I'm coming in strong.
That's so true. Well, that is really exciting, and I hope any listeners that have heard every episode maybe want to go back and re-listen, or if you're just listening, I know like I mentioned at the beginning, we have a lot of new listeners here with us, and I want to make sure you're taking the time over these 2 weeks that we're going to not be releasing an episode to go back and listen to some of the ones we've mentioned. Best age to take your kiddos, because I think that is a pain point and a stress factor for a lot of families, not being able to figure out when the best age is. But before we take our final break here, I'll just leave you with Katie's words of the best idea you'll have today is a Disney trip.
Hey, wait. I know you're ready to get back to the podcast, but I've got something very simple for you to do. Join my Facebook group, Disney Planning Made Simple. I'm Stacy, one of your podcast hosts, and I have a sweet, friendly Facebook group made for those of us who thrive in the simple pleasures of life, things like family, food, and Disney. Join at facebook.com/groups/Disney Made Simple, or follow with the link in the show notes. We'll be so happy to see you there.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
All right, we are back and just going to point forward a little bit into 2024. What are some things you all are excited about that Disney is doing in 24 that we might be talking about more on the podcast, and things you're looking forward to just for the pod in general?
I'm super excited about there being more voices and more guest speakers. Not that I don't love all of you. I feel like we have a fantastic crew, but I also feel like it's like we have heard so many of the different things that you love. And it's like, let's have some different points of view. I know you had Lauren on recently, and she added a lot of value to the podcast. So I'm really interested to hear more of that. I also think this, like, moving away from like a rigid structure and going into like, I'm all about having a good time. And I'm like, I think that this was a great move, good decision that you guys made to let it be a little more fluid and fun. It's getting so much more entertaining and interesting. And it's like, it's becoming the podcast that like, I want to hear as soon as it drops. And I feel like the longer you guys have to perfect your craft, I think the more and more that's going to happen, is that it's going to be that podcast that everybody knows what day it drops and is waiting.
Tuesday mornings, Tuesday midnight. Yeah, whenever you, yeah. wherever you listen, make sure you're subscribed. I agree with that. The special guests are so fun. And like you mentioned, we already had our first one was Lauren. She's another Smart Moms here within the agency, Smart Moms agent, and really having more niched down conversations about things. We talked about allergies, which is, again, another point that families worry about. And that episode gained a lot just from that conversation. And we have a lot more lined up. So that's going to be fun for listeners. And sometimes they'll directly impact the episode topic. And sometimes it'll just be like an enhanced extra topic for the day, which is just going to be really fun.
I'm excited about building our Patreon community. So it's fairly new. This is, I think, the first episode that we're going to put us live doing the podcast. So without edits. If you're interested in seeing that sort of thing, that's where we're going to be over on Patreon. But also the added benefits that we're offering with our planning itineraries. Those are coveted things that if you're going to Disney for the first time, you're going to want. And, at the same time, you get to support a bunch of moms trying to make their dreams come true while you're making your dreams come true of going to Disney. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. I'm just excited to kind of see where it goes and the continued things that we put over there, in addition to some of the things we've already done. This most recent episode was Art of Animation because our Patreon listeners wanted to hear more about it. So we're really taking their thoughts and opinions into consideration when we're making our episodes. And I'm sure we're going to do that a lot more going forward.
Definitely. We definitely are. And we all talked so much about how fun the Fantasyland drafts are. And we're still obviously going to be dropping episodes on your free platforms everywhere, every single week. And we're still going to be in our social media communities. But those special Fantasylands, we're not ready to let go of those yet. And we're going to be finding fun ways to involve the Patreon community in those as well. So that's going to be, I'm excited about those because LJ said she's not a football fan and I really, really am. And so anytime I can combine these things I love and make it a game and make it competitive, that's really fun for me. And then Disney's making so many changes for 2024. Dining plan coming back, which we've covered a little bit. We're going to talk about more. Park hopping rules are changing. Park pass reservation rules are changing. I'm sure Genie Plus is going to change as it's only been around for 2 years. And in that time, it's probably changed 4 times. So I'm sure we can expect that to have some new iteration of itself. And I'm just excited to continue to bring the evolutions that Disney brings right here to the podcast and make sure that listeners are informed and excited and equipped for their vacation, which is my goal for 2024.
I also really like the idea, like LJ was saying, about bringing in additional voice from our Smart Moms community. I also, just sending a thank you because we know a lot of our listeners are our fellow Smart Moms agents. And so just thank you for being a part of that support. And we want to have you be a part of our voice. But then also with another mailbag coming up, knowing that we want to have voices involved in it and we want to hear your stories and we want you to be a living, breathing part of the storytelling and the connections that we have on the podcast. So really, really looking forward to having additional voices be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think your mention of the agents being such great listeners and supporters, we should go ahead and make today's Hidden Mickey Smart Moms because they all are for being agents and for listening. And that'll be our Hidden Mickey today.
Here's to being smarter in 2024.
Yeah. Smarter by listening to this and by just going to Disney. Anything else? Anything else anybody wants to say? Or
I do. I want to continue to put out that we really appreciate you all being here and recognizing that we can't grow without support. We have to have continued support. And so I want to give a shout out to the over 1,000 of you who have taken the time to go and give us a 5-star review. That helps so much. But so many of those reviews happened at the very, very beginning launch. And so we still trickle in a couple every single week. And what that does to the algorithm and helping us find traction and helping new people find us is so important. So please, please, please continue to do that. And I wanted to shout out one more of our recent reviews that somebody gave us. And it just brings such happiness to my heart. So it says, "If it wasn't for this podcast, my first Disney vacation with my husband and 2-year-old daughter would not have gone as smoothly. I've been a listener since day one. Thank you for being here since day one. We know that there are several of you who are still sticking around. And I'm still amazed at how much more I am learning. I have been to Disney plenty of times as a kid, but this time with my daughter was the absolute best. We are already planning our trip for December 2024 for the Christmas party, and I can't wait to hear an episode talking about the new Christmas party at Hollywood Studios. So giving us that feedback, if you have things you want to hear, include it in that. But please remember that giving those 5-star reviews really does make a difference for the group of moms that are sitting on this podcast. It helps people find us and it helps fuel our energy and wanting to continue on with this journey. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you mentioned including things they want to hear in those reviews, because it immediately we mentioned Jollywood Nights in our parties episode, but it was before Jollywood Nights has started. And since then, it's been going, for a month at this point. And how many of the hosts have been? How many of you have been? I know at least. LJ, have you been to a Jollywood Nights yet?
No, I bought a ticket, but then I gave it to an agent and I didn't get to go. I wasn't feeling super well that day.
But still, three of the 6 of us have been to Jollywood Nights and experienced this brand new party. And I can't wait to hear about it, talk about it, explain it, because, it likely will be back next year. And I think more popular next year. And we're going to have some really great firsthand references of why it's a great party to go to.
Listen, I have to tell you something. This came up before. I think it was in a lightning lane on an episode. We asked, as an adult, who would be your favorite character to meet? And my answer in that lightning lane was, man, I really wish that Pinocchio had a meet and greet. I would literally cry if I met Pinocchio at a meet and greet. And Stacy and I...
Another thing we make fun of Katie for.
Yeah, exactly. I catch a lot of flack, but I have a lot of heart. But anyway, I was like, man, I would really love to meet Pinocchio. And Stacy and I went to Jollywood Nights together, and they had brought out rare character meet and greets. It wasn't something that was planned for Jollywood, but they decided to add that second week that Allie was talking about. They added more things in. And so we were at the dance party, and we came around the corner, and Jiminy Cricket was there. I was like, oh man, Stacy, we gotta go meet Jiminy Cricket, right? That's probably as close as I'm gonna get to meeting Pinocchio, okay? And so we joined the end of the line, and the cast member says, I'm so sorry to tell you, ma'am, Jiminy is gonna be taking a break here in a few minutes, and then we're gonna have Pinocchio come out after. And I was like, what? Did you just say that I'm about to meet Pinocchio? And the cast member was like, I have never seen someone this excited to meet Pinocchio. And I did. I cried my eyes out. I hugged him. One of our other agent friends made me a Pinocchio bag that I was wearing to the park that day, and I showed Pinocchio my Pinocchio bag, and oh my gosh, it was all the magic that my 33-year-old kid at heart could have handled.
I actually love that. I love that story so much. And the night you met Pinocchio, you were sending us all a picture. We were all freaking out and super jealous because you and Stacy looked like you were having the greatest time that you had all year long. And I loved that moment. But for anybody that hasn't heard that episode yet, it was hilarious. I know Carla was on it. And the question wasn't just character meet and greet. It was character meal. And I remember Carla's response was, Katie, party of one, your table is now available. Which is hilarious still, and it stands out, and anybody that hasn't heard it has to go back and find it. But our listeners remembered because they were tagging Katie and they were putting on our Facebook, Katie, Pinocchio was at Jollywood Nights, oh my gosh. And then we were able to share that picture, which was just a really full circle fun moment. And I'm so glad you told that story because it was so great.
It was great.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us. We're heading into this small break for the holidays, spend time with our family, and then we're going to be back with all new episodes covering new topic, new formats, new segments, just all new. Still the same vibe, still the same table, still those same voices that you have grown to know and value. And we just can't wait to have you there for all of it. So remember to find us on all social media networks at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to that Patreon if you want that added value, raw edit, polls and voting, and a voice within the content of the podcast.
And don't forget, we're pixie dusting all of our Patreon members that join by January 1st of 2024. If you join by then, you're going to get some pixie dust from us.
You get a reservation at Pinocchio's new restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, don't overpromise, y'all.
I feel like we could get that one.
It might be available.
Yeah, it might be there. So be sure that you join us there, like and subscribe. Let us be the voices you hear first thing on Tuesdays. And until next year and next time, we'll see you real soon.